all these smiling faces this morning, even though your mouth might be full of green grits. Welcome. It's my pleasure this morning to have with us Colonel Chris Hill. And if you'll bear with me just a moment, I'd like to share I'm just going to highlight some important things that Colonel Hill has oversight of. I've got 3 pages.
Yeah.
This gentleman is highly decorated and all well-deserving of each of these. But Colonel Hill is the commander of the 78th Air Base Wing and installation commander of Robins Air Force Base. As the commander supporting Georgia's largest industrial complex, he trains, deploys, and redeploys over 2,500 airmen. He commands 4,600 plus personnel assigned to 3 groups, which consist of communications, operations support squadrons, comptroller squadrons, and 10 wing staff agencies. He directly is responsible for logistics, medical, civil engineering, security, and mission support functions. You probably would not be surprised to know that takes a lot of money. So his budget oversight is $161 million. He's also, in his spare time, responsible for the morale and welfare of 24,000 airmen and their family members. Colonel Hill has served in 5 major commands supporting airlift, special operations, and special mission aircraft. He has commanded at the squadron and the group level. Prior to his current assignment, Colonel Hill was the deputy commander for maintenance at Warner Robins. His assignments range from 1991 to present, which is at Robins Air Force Base. Some of his major awards and decorations, he's received the Defense Superior Service Medal, the Bronze Star Medal, the Air Force Commendation Medal with 2 oak leaf clusters. You know, here in Dublin, we refer to him as Colonel, Sir, but most of all, friend. Folks, put your hands together and help us welcome Colonel Chris Hill.
Well, thank you very much. It's a great day to be here, and what a beautiful drive to come to Dublin today. Just a sliver of a moon when I left, and a gorgeous cloudless day to come to Middle Georgia. I told the folks sitting at the table today that I was violating a bit of protocol. My public affairs folks insisted that I wear my service dress today, and that's our blue jacket with a blue shirt and a tie and ribbons and things like that. And I just looked them square in the eye and said, you know, this is the 50th anniversary of the and I'm not going to wear blue on St. Patrick's Day to Dublin at the 32nd annual Irish breakfast. And so today I'm wearing my Airman's Battle uniform. And it may not look green, but what you can't see are the OD green socks that I'm wearing inside my boots. And I'm proud to stand here with you today as a member of this great Middle Georgia community. And it's an honor, Willie, to be here, and thank you. Willie, where'd you go? Okay. And thank you for inviting me to come here and share a little bit with you today about Robins Air Force Base. You know, and you've been here certainly to understand that Robins is an economic engine in Middle Georgia. The economic impact is about $2.7 billion, and about $1.3 billion of that streams directly from the wages of our employees on the base. And so my job, as you heard during the introduction, is to make sure that all of the major mission partners that are on the base are successful in the things that they do. Inside the base, they call me the mayor. And our job is to make sure that the Air Force Reserve Command, the Warner Robins Air Logistics Complex, the 2 JSTARS wings, that's Joint Surveillance Target Attack Radar Systems, the 5th Combat Communications Group, and the Defense Logistics Agency, and the Defense Commissary Agency, and the Army and Air Force Exchange Service. All of these mission partners are successful in their day-to-day operations. 22,000 people show up to Robins Air Force Base every day. It's a small city, Monday through Friday. And largely our employees live in your communities throughout Middle Georgia. Here in Lawrence County, right now, our books show that 203 people are employed as either military airmen or civilian airmen and live in Lawrence County. That's about $11.5 million a year that comes right back to your community. We also show that about 1,200 retirees, both military and civilian, live here in Lawrence County. And I know that you're proud of their service. And we're proud to provide that economic support. You know, Robins has the 2nd largest runway in the state of Georgia, 12,001 foot. The Atlanta International runway, that was just finished about 3.5 years ago, is 12,006 feet. So we're proud of not only our runway, but also the 11 million square feet of space we have under roof in 449 facilities around the base. We're exceptionally proud of the accomplishments of our mission partners, and I want to talk just a moment about the Joint Surveillance Target Attack Radar System. 2 wings, the 461st Air Control Wing, which is an active duty wing, and the 116th Air Control Wing, which is a Georgia Air National Guard organization, are made up of about 3,000 airmen total, and they fly 17 1970s era Boeing 707-200 aircraft. These airplanes were manufactured between 1968 and 1974, and they've just eclipsed 110,000 hours in combat support missions since 9/11. They've supported all 6 geographic combatant commanders from all across the globe in the last 18 months. And you may ask yourself, what's a geographic combatant commander? Well, in our military world, we divide the world up into these sections, and there are 6 of them. And what I mean to tell you by explaining this today is that every commander responsible for the entire globe has picked up the phone and said, we need JSTARS. And when they do that, the phone only rings here in Middle Georgia. The phone only rings at Robins Air Force Base, and you can be proud of those airmen. In 2011 and 2012, I was deployed to the Middle East, and I spent a year there, and it was my 2nd tour with the JSTARS unit. And you may or may not know that I was stationed here at Robins from 2002 to 2004, and that was my first unit, was there as a young squadron commander, as a major in the JSTARS unit. Fast forward, almost 10 years later, I'm stationed in the Middle East. I'm a colonel, I'm a group commander, and there are 5 JSTARS forward deployed, along with about 50 other airplanes where we were operating out of. But the point that I want to tell you is that the average life expectancy of a Tier 2 Taliban commander on the field in Afghanistan was about 2 weeks. It was 2 weeks from the time that he picked up the phone and JSTARS and other aircraft grabbed his signal from his cell phone until he was either eliminated or removed from the battlefield. That's the sort of capability and teamwork that goes on at Robins, and that's where we train and equip these crews that are off in harm's way doing the work of our nation, and so we're very, very proud of them. The 5th Combat Communications Group is also a highly mobile and agile unit. It's the largest organized mobile combat communications organization in the United States. That's located at your base, at Robins Air Force Base. Today, these folks are forward deployed in places like Kuwait and Jordan, providing cyber and communications capabilities at different levels and at different scales in support of the war on ISIS and ISIL. So I want you to know that what we're doing at Robins is relevant to the fight overseas, and it's relevant to what's going on here in Middle Georgia. Our air logistics complex, 7,000 of amazing patriots. They are really turning the tide. If you looked at the numbers of production in aircraft, you'd see that we're still behind. You'd also see that in 2014 that we had improving trends in quality, so the quality of the product that we were pushing back to the warfighter has improved, as well as our safety record has improved on the ground. So our employees, your friends and neighbors, are working in a safer environment. On the business side of that operation, this year in 2015, we are better than I've ever seen before in my 3 years of experience here at Robins. And things are really looking encouraging, and I'm encouraged. I think the leadership is right. I think there's a great spirit of partnership and engagement with the employees. And I'll talk more to you a little bit about where we're going with labor management. The Air Force Reserve Command is the largest major command in the United States Air Force. They support more than 80,000 reservists across the globe. These are folks in 27 different categories of employment with our United States Air Force, folks who wear the uniform every day and then are on active duty reservists, and also folks who are on the individual ready reserve. So you have a spectrum of readiness and a spectrum of capability that supports every major mission in the United States Air Force. And I will tell you today that a reservist is not like the reservists from 20 years ago. Another story from my deployment in the desert, in July of that year, we had a tanker unit that had 38 aircraft assigned to that unit. In 1 month, we generated 1,003 sorties. That's a whole lot of flying for a whole lot of airplanes. And the makeup of that unit at the time was that we had 70% active duty and 30% ARC. That's guardsmen and reservists. In October of that same year, 2011, we broke that record again. We flew 1,009 sorties in a month with 38 aircraft, and the only change had been the makeup of the squadron. Because then, in October, we had 70% reservists in the unit and only 30% active duty. I use that illustration only to highlight that our reservists today and our guardsmen today are as capable as our active duty folks. And you may or may not know this, but the Air Force today is as small as it's ever been in the history of our service since 1947. We have fewer people and fewer aircraft than we've ever had in our history. The average age of the Air Force fleet is 27 years old. That's right. If we put license plates on each aircraft, they'd all have antique on the bottom of it, on average, okay? Since Desert Storm, the Air Force has maintained a continual wartime or rotational presence while decreasing in size. Over time, the supply has decreased while the demand from the combatant commanders has risen. That means more deployments and less time at home. And what that really means is that we can't fight without our reservists. We can't fight without our guardsmen. Around the world, fewer boots on the ground mean more airplanes in the sky. The U.S. is leading coalition efforts against ISIS and in other major areas beyond the boundaries of the United States Central Command. Our reservists and our guardsmen are an integral part of that. These are our citizen airmen. They're your neighbors. We're so thankful for their service, and we know you're thankful for their service. I can't go to a large audience like this without talking a little bit about base realignment and closure. People always come up to me and say, tell us what you think about BRAC. So here's what I think about BRAC. The Base Realignment and Closure Commission is a statutory process. It's a fundamental rationale for BRAC is that it enables the Department of Defense, an independent commission, the public, and the Congress to engage in a comprehensive and transparent process to facilitate the proper alignment of our infrastructure with our missions. The Air Force believes that a future BRAC is necessary. It's essential in bringing our infrastructure more in line with current and projected force structures. We fully support the official Department of Defense position ensuring military value is a prime criteria. The funding required for unneeded facilities is tantamount to a tax on the warfighter and readiness. And right-sizing military infrastructure, which is currently estimated at 30% above the requirement, can save billions of annual recurring costs. Now, exhale. Count to 10. My message here today is to tell you that the Chief of Staff of the Air Force and the Secretary of the Air Force believe in a 3-depot strategy. Okay? The depot is the engine at Robins Air Force Base. The Warner Robins Air Logistics Complex is the anchor point of that base. You all recognize that. Last August, the Secretary of the Air Force, the Honorable Deborah Lee James, came to Robins Air Force Base and spoke in our Century of Flight hangar. There were 1,100 people that were in that hangar to listen to her address. And in the first 2 minutes, she said that the United States Air Force needs 3 depots. The United States Air Force leadership believes in a 3-depot strategy. So what does that mean? To me, that means that Robins Air Force Base will be conducting maintenance, repair, and overhaul operations for the foreseeable future. Now, that also means that Robins Air Force Base has the potential to grow. And that, to me, is where we need to emphasize the importance of performing to our potential inside the fence. That we have a responsibility as leaders to make today better than yesterday and tomorrow better than today. And so that, I hope, is an encouragement for you. Another encouraging trend is our air quality attainment. Robins Air Force Base has partnered with our Middle Georgia community and currently in attainment meeting the national ambient air quality standards for all criteria pollutants. We've avoided the negative impacts of non-attainment, and that's been a priority for Robins and our local community. The base actively supports local policies, partnerships, and programs that focus on maintaining air quality and improving air quality standards. We've taken several measures to conduct clean air operations, and that includes an idle reduction policy on base, which says that we don't idle vehicles on the flight line in various places, so for example, our security forces who may be conducting a deterrent traffic operation, they're doing that with their vehicles off and not idling. We also support the Clean Air Campaign and have established carpools as well as the buses into Robins daily with the Make It Transit Authority. All of that has helped reduce more than $3 million on fuel and maintenance costs on the base and mitigated more than 6.1 million miles of pollutants via personal owned conveyance. The Air Force Community Partnership Initiative leverages the capability of bases and local communities to reduce their collective operating and service costs. We call these P4 initiatives, or public-private, public-public partnerships. Robins is committed to working with Middle Georgia to identify opportunities for collaboration, as well as also sustaining more than 30 independent partnerships that it already has with entities in this portfolio of operations. Some of our recent partnerships over the last 18 months, including multiple disciplines, including the continuing medical education. And last month, I want to tell you that we held a dental conference at the museum with more than 339 dentists from all of Middle Georgia and 9 different military bases throughout the Southeast. The impact of that is it avoided more than $400,000 of costs and offered more than 3,900 hours and continuing medical education credits to professional oral care providers. One of the most encouraging things that I've seen in my tenure as a commander at Robins has been the improving relationship between labor and management in Robins. So not only do I have a responsibility for roads and commodes inside the fence, but I've also called the Title V Authority. And so the relationship with the union has been very, very instrumental in a pretty steep climb in my time as the commander. In June of last year, after a sweeping election in our local 987, we sat down with union leaders and in a facilitated environment over 3 days, and recognized that 70% of our interest overlapped. That wasn't new. But what was new was the fact that we were sitting at the table together, and 12 new union executive team leaders and a commensurate amount of managers from Robbins got together in a room and determined that we can work together. Since then, we've established a governance structure and a forum for us to come together and talk about, in a formal setting, talk about the things that were on our minds and things that we could work together and improve. And beyond that, we signed a partnership arrangement with the Department of Labor and the Office of Safety and Health Administration, OSHA. It's a one-of-a-kind partnership in the Department of Defense, and it enhances transparency and communication and teamwork between the three agencies. And we've been able to mitigate certain discrepancies and concerns from OSHA in working together with the union, and I think that's a powerful testament to the ability and a testament to the teamwork that's happening between labor and management over time. In the coming weeks, we're going to sign our local supplement agreement to the master labor contract. That's a milestone of huge significance in my mind. The last local supplement agreement was signed at Robbins Air Force Base in 1982. We're going to sign a new local supplement agreement. That is remarkable to me, and I can't take credit for it. I want to give credit to the leaders of both agencies and the bargaining unit, and I also want to give them credit for their spirit and teamwork. My get off the stage point about the labor management agreement is, about our labor management relationship is that, and what matters to you is to know that our union grievances are down by almost 75%, and that's a very good thing. But moreover than the absence of a negative is the addition of a positive. And in our production environment, down in aircraft, we've seen labor and management collaborate together to solve problems in such a way and magnitude that it actually moves a constraint. It actually solves a problem so well that another problem pops up in a different area. And those of you that are involved in manufacturing or involved in a production line and systems understand that you're never going to solve all the problems all the time. But to actually see a problem move is a very, very good thing, and it's an encouraging thing. And I think that's a testament to the teamwork, again, and the partnership that we've had with our new union leadership. One of my favorite pet rocks is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Robbins has this insatiable appetite with with almost 1,700 engineers and that work on the base. Most of our engineers are computer scientists or electrical engineers, and most of them work in the software realm. And a lot of people say, well, why is software important? And why is software the fastest growing business unit inside of the air logistics complex? And I think the answer is best described like this. When I came on active duty in 1987 as a cadet at the United States Air Force Academy, about 70% of our aircraft flew on an analog backbone. So that means that means all of the electronics that were on the aircraft were resided in a box, right? And we didn't have any sort of integrated avionics. It was all separate. So if you were going to upgrade the avionics, you had to change out every different box. Nowadays, 95% of our aircraft fly on a digital backbone. That means that there's a central computer that processes and integrates avionics, communication, navigation, weapons systems control. And nowadays, when we want to change the operational flight parameters of an aircraft, we change the software, we change the code. And that's a huge enabler. And we do that at Robbins Air Force Base in our software maintenance group. Science, technology, and engineering and mathematics education is a huge, huge field of production. And it's really where we harvest our graduates the most. We started a conversation about 15 months ago with the University System of Georgia, the Technical College System, and held a summit at Robbins Air Force Base with various regents from the university system presidents, the deans of engineering and provosts, and understood the difference or the gaps between our particular need at Robbins and other needs across the state. That started the ball rolling towards a second meeting in the fall of last year that identified needs not only inside of the university and technical college system, but this was a specific focus on K through 12 education, and we recognized the importance of connecting our K through 12 teachers to resources that would enable and better prepare them to teach science, technology, and engineering and mathematics. And just coming up here in the next 2 weeks, on the 25th of March, we're going to be meeting at Georgia Tech. My boss, Lieutenant General Bruce Litchfield, as well as Dr. Stephen Welby, who's the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Systems Engineering, as well as several leaders from across the state and the university system and the technical college system, are going to come together again and talk about how we can bridge the gap between supply and demand across the state. We're starting to hear a difference. We're starting to hear a new dialogue with regard to science, technology, engineering, and math. We also hear echoes from industry about their same demand, and obviously we're competing for those same resources. And so we're encouraged by what's going on in your great state, and we're also encouraged about the impact that that's going to have at Robbins Air Force Base. The last thing I want to talk to you about today is something that we hosted at the very last week of February, and it's something that strikes near and dear in every community, and I like to refer to it as a clergy summit. We invited 62 faith-based leaders from a 50-mile radius surrounding Robbins Air Force Base to come together to develop enduring partnerships in support of our comprehensive airman spiritual pillar. We recognize that we have the majority of our base is civilian airmen. They are government service employees. And in the spiritual pillar, we are unable to support them with our Title X military chaplains. And so the purpose of this conference was to get like-minded people from various faiths. All different faiths were represented. Protestant, Catholic, Jewish. We had folks who were Wiccans that were there. And the reality was we wanted everybody, we wanted to be inclusive, and we wanted folks who had good ideas about how we can support our civilian airmen. The reason that we've decided to pull this together was because last year we had a cluster of suicides at Robbins. We had 5 different civilian airmen in 5 different communities, in 5 different areas, squadrons, decided that they no longer had hope, and they decided to end their lives. And this was in response to that, and we were looking to collaborate with our off-base to, again, develop a network of local congregations and faith-based organizations that would encourage helping behavior among employees. And we weren't asking those clergy members to do any more than they're already doing, except to encourage the people that work at Robbins to be better wingmen. And we were overwhelmed with the response. We were hoping to have maybe 10 folks who attended come forward and say, we want to be part of this collective, we want to lead a team. And now we have a big problem because 39 people came forward and said, we want to be part of this solution. And that's a very, very good thing. And it speaks well of our clergy, it speaks well of how folks are interested in supporting one another. And we've already identified 13 licensed faith-based counselors, and we look forward to moving forward in the months ahead to really begin to yield and network and encourage one another to be better teammates for our civilian airmen. Also coming up the week of the 23rd of March is a large event called a PEO Roundtable and Portfolio Review. We'll have more than a dozen senior leaders in the lifecycle logistics and sustainment business hosted at Robbins to talk with industry and discuss future challenges and opportunities in the next 18 months. And we think that that's going to be a big event. It's also in conjunction with the Dixie Crows conference, and we think that that's going to be a great event. Finally, let me close by saying that folks like me who wear the uniform are very fortunate to live in a community where they say every day in Middle Georgia is Armed Forces Appreciation Day. This is my 13th assignment, and I will tell you that I've never been in a community like this community. And what I mean by that is that there's no gap between those who wear the uniform and those who live in the community. We feel welcomed here. And that's a testament to your patriotism. It's a testament to your hospitality. And moreover, it's a testament to your character and culture. And having lived here twice, I will tell you that it's an honor and privilege to serve here. And it's a privilege to serve where you're wanted. And moreover, it's a privilege to serve where you're liked. And so please allow me to say thank you for the great support that you give our airmen and men and women in uniform. And we wish you all the very best of the coming festival. Thank you very much and have a great day.